Gear up, Scooter fam. Today, I'm just gonna do a pretty quick video. Nothing too crazy. Yesterday, when I was thinking about doing going through my video and sort of what my next scooter would be, I don't know when I'm going to be making a decision on getting another scooter. It's not going to be very soon, but I'm starting to sort of think along those lines and wanted to kind of go through sort of what I've learned so far, having two different kinds of scooter, really two kinds of scooters on different ends of the spectrum. Um, Hover One Journey Max is very different than the Nami Klima, other than they're both dual motors, um, and that's something I've learned that I definitely like. So I'm going to be sticking with the dual motor scooter. Most likely. Nothing's 100%, but pretty close. Uh, and then you know what I'm looking for. So, like I said, what I've learned. Let's talk about speed. One thing that I've learned is that I don't really need to go very fast on a daily basis. Uh, I kind of knew that being on the Journey Max, but there were several situations where I wished I could go a tad faster on the Journey Max. And just like I said, in certain situations when cars were pulling up behind me and so forth, I don't have so far have not had that issue with the Klima, and I haven't been that much faster. But just knowing that it's there, uh, and when I do pull out, I can get going and not have to seem like I can't get up to speed. The Journey Max is fairly quick. I probably don't accelerate any faster on the Klima than I did on the Journey Max, but just having that top end speed just makes me feel a lot better. And like I said, I know I'm not just gonna stick at 20 and just not be able to go any faster than 20 miles an hour. So if I want to get up to 23, 24 miles an hour, which is probably as fast as I'm going to need to go most of the time. And I can do that, but I still know I can go up to 27. And if I decide, that's not enough, I can also increase the power. So, uh, and jump up to a different mode. So, I've learned one thing that speed, I don't need that much. I don't need more than 30-ish miles an hour 99.9% of the time. Um, but I think I'm okay like where I'm at as far as speed goes. The Klima's pretty perfect. I mean, it only goes 35 unless you go into the turbo mode, which is that's kind of nice. Right there. I mean, you're not going to use turbo mode that often. Like I said, if I'm jumping out or something, I've really got to go on a fast road, and I want to make sure I can get going pretty quickly. But I've got a long way to go before I even would be willing to try that. Um, so so that's one thing. Another thing is range. So and that kind of comes back to the speed thing. I realize now that if a scooter is rated at a higher speed than I'm going to be going most of the time, that I can count on a lot more range than what it's rated for. Or even though I'm not going to go in eco mode, I'm still getting those types of numbers, even though I'm not 165 pounds and I'm not driving around eco mode. I'm in middle mode on the Klima S mode. I'm not in low. I'm not in high. I'm just right there in the middle. There's 5 modes and I'm in the middle one. So that's pretty great. 50 miles of range in the middle mode, just doing my commuting around town. That's pretty awesome. Uh, and so, that's just considering that there are so many scooters out there that get so much range and speed. So if I get a scooter that can go 60 miles an hour, knowing I'm never going to go more than 20, 30 miles an hour, that gives me a whole lot of range. Consider something like the RS InMotion RS. You know, that gets up to 60 miles tested. And I'm never going to drive that thing 60 miles an hour. Um, and so I'd go half of that. So me getting 100 miles on the InMotion RS is very, very possible. Uh, just doing my normal stuff. So that's interesting. Um, I'm not saying it's 100% likely, but it could happen. The fact that I'm getting 50 on this one surprises me. I saw somewhere, and I mean, people just spit out whatever. But so it's like, how much range will I get on this scooter? And I'm going to tell you, as I said before, now that I've done this couple different scooters, like, just depends on the scooter. And I'm not saying that just depends on the battery and so forth. It depends on all the different kind of things. So it's hard to nail that down before you get it, unless you have experience with that type of scooter, or you start getting more experience with how you ride and how that equivalates to range. So, for example, like I said, someone said, I got this size of battery, and I mean, I heard this blanket answer. He's like, yeah, if you got 25 amp hours, you're probably going to get 25 miles of range. You could kind of take it like 1 amp hour equals 1 mile of range. There's so many factors that go into that equation that there's no way you could estimate it like that. And so this is a 25 amp hour and gets me 50, so I get about 2 miles per amp hour. On this particular scooter, the Journey Max, I don't remember what the amp hours are. I know it's a 36 volt. I know it's not many amp hours, but I want to say it's in the teens, maybe 14 or something like that. So, but once again, I'm maxing that scooter out all the time. For the most part. I mean, I'm going 80% of its maximum potential. 80% of the time. So, or something like that. So most of the time I'm in the upper range of its capabilities on the Journey Max. I'm not even close to the upper range of the capabilities on the Klima, about halfway there. So, that just tells me, even though I get a higher performance scooter that has, decent range and really high speed, that just means I'm going to get to go a lot further doing what I do on a normal everyday basis. So I'm not as caught up on that range anymore. After getting the Klima and it being rated for like the 30 amp hour being rated for 25 miles. Real world, like, I don't know whose real world that is. It's not my real world. But and then I've seen people say, there's a guy on the NAMI board. He's like, yeah, I weigh 150 pounds and I got this much, and I've never heard anyone getting this, and it wasn't even that much, like on a Klima. And I was like, I just got like 50 miles on mine, but I don't drive it around like zooming. And he's like, yeah, I'm not surprised. You're riding it like a commuter scooter, and that's why I bought it for. You don't have to buy a NAMI to race it. I know probably can, but I'm not racing. I'm just riding around. It's nice. It feels nice. It's got nice pickup. I mean, once again, I had a 2021 Scat Pack wide body. I didn't drive it around like crazy. I mean, probably grandmas in their old beat up cars passing me up on the road, flipping me off because, I'm in a muscle car going, 30 miles an hour. So, I mean, I don't necessarily, and I mean, it feels nice, right? I'm not trying to go like drag on the drag strip just because this car is capable of it. You could tear your car up, even though it's built for that. Still, I mean, it's not necessary. It's just not necessary, and that just driving it and feeling that power when you drive it and hearing the roar, it's fun. It's nice, but it doesn't mean I want to go kill myself. That's that being what it is. I just want to kind of throw that speed and range in there. I'm not as caught up on range as long as it's got a decent performance. If I were buying a scooter that only went 15 miles an hour, I'd be really concerned about range because I'm going to be going 15 all the time. But if I'm buying a scooter that goes 40 plus miles an hour, I don't have to be that concerned about range. To be honest, range is really not a concern. And there's lots of scooters that I need to go back and look at and think about it. And that under that that assumption that I don't necessarily need a ton of range. So I've got all these metrics that I measure these specifications for these scooters, and if they don't meet a certain criteria, they kind of get pushed aside. And I don't recall which ones I may have pushed aside because I thought maybe they didn't have the range that I thought they should have had, but they might be a decent performance scooter. So only if they get 20 miles of range, but they're get 50 miles an hour, and that's probably okay with me now that I know that I'm not going to be going like that fast hardly ever. That's probably plenty of range for me. So I'm going to go back and look at some of those and reconsider what's going to fit me. And I still really believe in the Klima. I'm still hoping, I'm holding out for a good experience with the scooter ongoing. It's been rough since day one, so I'm really hoping for like a full week of not having like any problems. But we'll see. Suspension. I think I want to go with a more robust suspension. Not that the suspension is not great. This is the best suspension out there when it comes to pavement, just regular road riding. But there's still some pretty big imperfections in some of the roads that I ride on. Not near as much as bothered me on the Journey Max, but just looking for something a bit more beefy. Like I said, maybe made for off-road riding so that it even soaks up those larger. I mean, I know it's not going to be as smooth of a ride, but it's going to handle those big bumps. I'm thinking with a bit more dignity, so to speak. Just handle those a little bit more. So, I have Apollo up here. I really like Apollo. Hoping, that maybe they have a good scooter that I'm keeping an eye on, and I'll wait till they have a perfect price, and I'll just jump on it. But I'm in no hurry. I wasn't in a hurry to get this scooter. I'm not in a hurry to get my next scooter. It could be any time. I don't have a timeline. But I am starting to think along those lines. I'm still going to ride this Klima, but let me tell you what it's not going to be. I don't know exactly what it's going to be. I don't know which brand it's going to be. I know it's going to be a dual motor. I know it's going to have a beefy suspension. I don't know much else beyond that. At the moment, I just know I want a decent size scooter. I don't know what budget I'm going to have for it yet. Going to think about that and do some math and so forth. It's not going to be a Klima, and it's not going to be from Fluid. That's not to say that I would never buy a Klima again, and that's not to say that I would never buy a scooter from Fluid again. But I want to hedge my bets a little bit, so I want to go with a different scooter, not a Nami, and that's a little bit away from what I was thinking when I first got it. Before I actually got it, I was thinking, am I just gonna, I'm gonna get another Nami, maybe get a Bernie, or something, or a Bernie Max or something like that. But I think I'm gonna hold off on the Namis. I like this one. I'm gonna ride it out, but no pun intended. And then I'm going to try a different retailer. I may buy directly from someone like Apollo or even Cabo if I decide to go for a Cabo. I may go to Voro Motors. I hear they can be a tad slow in their responses too, so that kind of annoys me when that happens. But they do have a live, at least they pretend like they have a live agent ready to talk to you. So I don't want to, hit that up and whatever. Hopefully I won't need it as much. But I'm not made up my mind. Voro has a fairly limited selections of the scooters that I'm usually looking at, in $2,000-$3,000 range. If I'm going to get a $4,000 scooter, they have a couple. if I'm gonna get anything under that. I mean, I just can't imagine. They got the GTR, they got the RS. Their next scooter is like $1,500 single motor, which I would never buy, and then $6,000. That's their. They have nothing in between there. So, yeah, I would like to see a $2,000-3,000 scooter from Voro Motors that could compete with some of these that I'm looking at, like the Apollos and the Klima and that range. They're really missing out on that market, on that section of the market, which may be like the biggest market. A lot of people are looking for like $2,000-3,000 scooters that aren't looking for to spend $4, $5, $6,000 or a $1,500 single motor scooter. I'm just personally not. So yeah, I think they're missing a big chunk of the market right there that all these other scooter companies are totally catering to. I can't think of any that doesn't have a $2,000 scooter. For not too many that doesn't have a 2000-ish dual motor scooter. So it could be Go Tracks, it could be Apollo, it could be Cabo, it could be I'm probably gonna try to stick to the main brands, but you never know. I might go get a T-Wing, or I might get this Max Fun, somebody a little lesser known. We'll see, but I'm leaning towards a major brand. Maybe a Varla. I'm not sure. Kim, if they got a good deal. Man, I missed a really good deal on the OXO. They had it for like $1,000. Maybe a Segway. There had to be a good deal on it though. I like the GT2. Some things about it, some things it's okay. But like I said, there's maybe a Solar. Who knows if there's a good deal on Solars. And but I'm gonna go look at the range and the speeds and so forth. I might want to try an app. I've never had a scooter. The Hover One Journey Max doesn't have an app, and the Klima doesn't have an app. And I've never really been too concerned about an app as long as I can do everything from the display and so forth through the scooter. That's fine. I certainly don't want to have to depend on an app to be able to do something to my scooter. So if it depends on the app working correctly, I prefer it just didn't have an app, and the scooter is what it is, because I don't want to have to go to an app to get to do something on my scooter. So for that reason, Apollo and some of these places, we'll see. Like I said, I don't necessarily need an app, and if it's gonna be the only way I can control a scooter and so forth, like I think Segway does that. Like you have to get the app, or I don't remember which one it was, but something like you had to download the app, and I'm like, I don't want to have to. I want it to be an option. So if there's a scooter where I have to have an app to operate it, I'm probably not going to get that scooter. So it's going to be, I'm just going to wrap it up. But it's going to be something that's probably off-road capable. It's going to be something that's dual motor. It's going to be something between $2,000 to $4,000. I don't know, somewhere in there. It's not going to be less than that, unless I just found a really good deal. Like I almost made a move on the Wolf Warrior X, and that's still a consideration. If that's too good of a deal, I just might snatch it up. So, but that's the area that I'm looking in. Probably not too much different than what I have for the Klima. If I can get a really good deal, I'm looking for value. Value is number one thing I'm looking for. Not looking for the newest, not looking for the most special one out there and paying way over what I think it's worth. I'm looking for a deal. I'm looking for value. I'm looking to get something worth the money that I'm spending. And so whatever I can get that at, and it's likely going to be, like I said, around $2,000, $3,000. If it goes a little above $3,000, maybe we'll see. If it goes a little below $2,000, we'll see. But it's probably going to be somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000. That's just the rough range. I don't know what it's going to be. Something may grab my attention. I haven't worked out an exact budget yet. or timeline. I don't really have a timeline, but I am going to get a budget together, and I'm going to go back through and look through some things and see where I'm at. But I just wanted to talk through some of the things that I've learned and some of the things that I'll be considering on my next scooter purchase, whenever that is. Um, I didn't know for sure how long it would be. I still don't know exactly how long it's going to be, but I didn't know how long it would be before I would start thinking about getting another scooter. I figured I would, consider getting another scooter, but I just didn't know, how long I'd be caught up in this one. So I want to hedge my bets a little bit. I want to have a couple different kinds of scooters around, besides just that Journey Max. That way, if something does happen to the Klima and I've got to work on it, I'll have a backup, and vice versa. If something happens to the other scooter, I can have the Klima. So, which is why, like I said, I'm trying to go for a reputable brand. I'm going to need parts from time to time. That's another reason I might, go to like Voro Motors or Cabo or Apollo or something like that. I just need to make sure that, these scooters are going to need to be worked on from time to time. And, I'm going to need to get parts. And so having a good place to go for parts is a plus. Fluid offers 50% on their parts if you buy the scooter through them through the life of your scooter. That's always a bonus. But man, it's really painful to get anywhere with them. Speaking of which, I reached out to Fluid again on Thursday, hoping to hear back on Friday, which I didn't. So we'll see if I hear back tomorrow. And I'll let you guys know on that. So they're supposed to get back within 24 hours. This is the first time that they've missed. They've always replied to me like a day later, but they missed today. So I'm not sure, what's going on. I just asked some questions. Really, I was just trying to get some clarification on the piece that said 20. I was just trying to make sure it's right and ask questions about it, and then let them know about the rotor situation and so forth. So I just had a couple questions. I wasn't asking for anything crazy, so I didn't think it would take too long to get back. In any case, guys, if you found this content helpful, you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe, and happy riding.